What's up? This is Don DeVore from Indian Dagger, Farrell, various other things. You're listening to The New Scene.
Hello everybody, and welcome to The New Scene. I am your host Keith, and we're back with another brand new episode. And on the show this week, we have Jason Farrell, guitar player of the legendary DC hardcore band Swiz. They've been inactive for a long time, but they are back. They just released a box set which is completely sold out, but they've got a book coming out October 7th via Akashic Publishing. It's called Swiz. You can pre-order that now. Jason was also singer and guitar player for Bluetip, one of my favorite bands. He was also in Retisonic, played guitar in Red Hair. He's done it all, and we talk about it all the bands, everything that's going on with Swiz. It's a great conversation, and that's coming up shortly. But first, here's how you can support The New Scene. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a main channel with full video episodes and a clips channel with clips from select episodes. We have shirts for sale at our store at Deathwish Inc. Pick one up. It's a great way to support the show. And you can follow us on social media at New Scene Pod. Also, this Friday, August 22nd, my band Memory Entry will be opening for Portraits of Past, along with Catherine Moore, at LPR in New York City. That's at 158 Bleecker Street, and the show is all ages, so make sure you come out. Also, don't forget to support Iodine Recordings. Modern Life is War just released another new single from their upcoming LP, Life on the Moon. The single is called Bloodsport, and it's streaming now everywhere. Life on the Moon is up for pre-order now, so make sure you get your copy soon. Drought will be performing with Touche Amore, Tiger's Jaw, and New Mirrors at August Hall in San Francisco. That's October 8th, 2025. The Dogs of Hope compilation is out now. This is a benefit for shelter animals. The second pressing is up at Iodine Recordings, so make sure you get a copy before it's sold out. Punks for Palestine benefit shows will be taking place October 3rd through 5th at St. Stephen's in Washington, D.C., and it's all ages. The shows will feature Page 99, Seisha, Majority Rule, Prisoner, No Man, Rid of Me, and a ton of other great bands. And Modern Life is War will be performing at Furnace Fest 2025, so make sure you check them out if you're going. For more information, head to iodinerecordings.com, sign up for the newsletter to find out about everything first, and you can follow the label on Instagram at Iodine Recordings. Also, say hello to our sponsor for the month of August, Evil Greed. In addition to their online store, Evil Greed offers tour merch, merch handling, and logistics services for tons of bands. They also offer merch and distribution solutions for bands and record labels in Europe and the UK. Evil Greed has a carefully selected roster of artists and labels in their online store. They offer very reasonable worldwide shipping rates, specifically to the UK and the USA. All right, let's find out what's going on this week at Evil Greed. We've got featured merch from Blood Incantation, Sun, Brutus, Spectral Wound, Bell Witch, Full of Hell. We've got featured music from Drain, a new 7-inch called Who's Having Fun, Military Gun, the new LP from Military Gun called God Save the Gun. We've got a 10-year 2X LP anniversary edition of Abyss by Chelsea Wolfe. We've got the new LP from AFI, Silver Bleeds the Black Sun. And we've got the upcoming LP from Fleshwater called 2000, In Search of the Endless Sky. There's a wide selection of new merch, new music, pre-orders. We've got Evil Greed exclusives. Once again, the new LP from Military Gun, God Save the Gun. We've got LPs from Sanction, Scowl, Counterparts, Thou, Have a Nice Life, Incendiary, Ways Away, Be Well, Chat Pile. You name it. Everything you could possibly want is up for sale at evilgreed.com. So head over to the website, sign up for the newsletter, and you can follow them on Instagram at evil_greed. Okay, so check back in with me at the end of the show. We'll do a wrap up of the conversation with Jason. I'll tell you everything that's going on with me, but right now, We are going to speak to Jason Farrell. Enjoy. All right, we are here now with Jason Farrell. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here, Jason. You know, you've done so much over the years. Swiz, Sweet Belly Freakdown, Bluetip, Retisonic. Swiz is back. You've played at least one show. I'm excited to ask you about all kinds of stuff. But Jason, first I want to ask you, how are you doing today?
Today, I'm doing good. It's weird. I feel like I was, not psyched yesterday. But for some reason today I woke up and I was like, let's do this, man. Yeah,
Nice.
no, I feel good.
What was going on yesterday? Anything in particular?
It's just the mood wasn't there, man. No, I don't know. It was just not feeling super positive, and for some reason today, I think it has something to do with we have a crawl space under our house, and there's like a half of it's tall enough to stand in, half of it isn't, but it's like a great little space. In fact, this is a crawl space under the house, but we carved it out and turned it into a band room, and now my office. But so there's like another crawl space that I can dig into, and I cut the door out of the fucking plaster and fixed it up, put a new frame in, and my wife just painted it. So it just looks like it was always there. And that always makes me psyched. So that might be it. That might be the X factor for today.
Yeah. Are you the type of person, do you like having something to do at all times?
Yeah. In fact, I realized on this last vacation, so we just played these Swiz two Swiz shows in DC, and then I had to take vacation for that. And then I stayed in DC and went nearby to a lake and for a week of pure family vacation. And you would think that, I would use that to just relax, but I have zero chill. So I felt like, what should I be doing? And I couldn't fucking, I need a project always.
Same. I took a vacation for the first time in a while. It was 3 days. First 2 days I was fine. By night 3, I was losing it, and I had to go check band emails, podcast email. I was checking work emails. I'm sick.
Oh yeah,
I'm sick in the head.
Yeah. I hear you.
But yesterday I felt edgy too because it was a slow night. I still had stuff to do, but it was slow. There was like no pending thing, and it made me really uneasy. And then I was like, but this is what I always wanted. So I guess I'll just never be happy. That's fine.
Well, yeah, I'm absolutely the happiest when I'm like knee deep in a problem that I'm about to solve. So that's why I'm always seeking out various projects to just take whatever anxiety is flying around my head and just focus it on this thing. And if I solve it, it's like, the cheese that fucking holds me for at least 30 minutes before I, go do something else.
Where do you live currently?
I live in Los Angeles. I've been here about 20 years. Before that, I was in New York for a few years and grew up born in DC, grew up in that area for 25 years, 30 years.
So what made you move to Los Angeles?
New York is exhausting. I think that's probably the big thing. And
yeah, I've been in Brooklyn since 2012. So yeah.
It's I loved. So I moved up there in probably 98, 99 and lived there till about 2004. And for 3-4 years, it was fucking magic. The way that like you could walk, if you're in your apartment and you want to, you need a shelf, you just put in your head shelf and you walk outside and then there's 2 shelves to choose from, just sitting on it's like leave a penny, take a penny, like at the massive scale. And so there's, as long as you can keep your energy up, it really gives, but the energy side is it fucking takes equally or more. And that started to get tiring. So we moved out here cause my wife got a job offer and I was doing freelance graphics. I could do that anywhere. So moving out here was, also growing up skateboarding and BMXing and everything else, it's like, this is fucking Mecca for that stuff. So it really was a no brainer for me to say, yep.
Nice. You have a son. Do you have more children?
Nope. Just the one. Yeah.
How old is he?
16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. That must be a trip, huh?
Yeah. And it's really, yeah, it's cool. It's really weird seeing like, particularly like having just dug into my own personal archives of stuff, going through the Swiz box set and other stuff. I'm digging up pictures when I was 16, 17, and the ghost of the son to come is like right there. And it's just, superimposing what I was doing over what he's doing and being psyched at the similarities and psyched at the differences. It's wild and I like it.
Does he play at all? Is he going down that path at all?
He did. Yeah. He started off for a while doing guitar and then moved over to drums. That's when he was like a kid. He was in bands and stuff, faded on that pretty quick. After we weren't pushing him anymore, but now he came back around to the drums and is actually a pretty good drummer. So
nice.
Always need a drummer.
Yeah, everybody does. So you grew up in DC?
I was born in DC, grew up a mile or two out in Bethesda.
Okay. What was your first exposure to punk, hardcore music, the world of independent music, let's call it? What grabbed you? How did you find it?
Through skateboarding. So we, after 8th grade, got rid of our BMX bikes and got skateboards and like felt like at the time, skating was kind of dead. So it felt special to us. And as we built, our little ramps, tiny shitty ramps at various places, at the time there was nothing to skate. So everybody found them. So like there would be, we didn't think there was anybody out there. And then suddenly like a beacon, this ramp started bringing in people and, they're all wearing circle jerk shirts and other stuff. And we quickly realized that was sort of the soundtrack of the activity we had picked up on. And, it only takes a couple listens of, Negative Approach or Minor Threat to realize like, oh, I get it, and it was, so that was definitely the introduction. And then, when I got to high school, there was a good, healthy punk scene there. A lot of people that, two of the dudes from Dag Nasty, or what would be Dag Nasty eventually, and, Government Issue and other people went to that school. So there was just a ton of, Fire Party, like there's a lot of people that, were in the scene and active. And here we are, these cute little skaters, and they were all very supportive of giving us music and telling us when shows were starting and what shows were coming up and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love the idea of a high school with all of those people who would end up in all of those bands and everyone helping each other out and telling each other about shows. Because when I was in high school, if you wore a band shirt like of a hardcore band, you would be called a freak or a nerd. It was still kind of rich jocks versus everybody else, I guess.
Yeah, there was that. I feel like we got a little. It was that sort of football jock culture was fading, like for sure at our school. It was still happening, like at Walter Johnson or other schools around, but just I don't know why it just that power grip of 60s, 50s, 70s stuff was really weak at our school. And I think it may have helped that we had like one of the most notorious fighters who could take the whole football team out, like on the punk side. So that was good.
Who was it?
But doesn't matter.
Could he just beat up anybody?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys like that in the scene. We like those guys if we're not on the wrong side of them.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's why you you make sure you're not wearing the shirt he hates or some shit. I don't know.
So when did you start playing? Like, when did you pick up a guitar? How did that happen?
I would say right after finding out about hardcore. So, 84, I was 14 or something. We all started, playing in sort of just a bunch of people down in the basement, trading off instruments, almost like, people soft sounding what instrument they might eventually take up, and it's pretty funny. Like that first hangout or whatever it was, out of that came at least 4 bands from my area, just people aping whatever the hell they think, I think this is how you play it. I just learned a bar chord. Show me the bar chord, So about 14, I started playing guitar. By 15, I was in a band and played my first show. And then, by 17, I was in Swiz.
Oh, by 17. Okay. Who was influential to you in your particular style of how to play? I'm particularly curious in your case because, Don DeVore, Ink and Dagger, a huge influence on me, and I would hear Swiz mentioned all the time, and I think Don mentioned you as an influence when I had him on the show, but who influenced you?
For sure, locally, Mike Hampton from The Faith and Embrace, for sure, and Brian Baker from Minor Threat and Dag Nasty. Those two would be my local, and then definitely, James Hetfield. So as far as like the muting stuff and just doing syncopated rhythms and being really skippy and like all that shit was that. So those three for sure.
Nice. How was the scene when Swiz got started playing shows? Like around what year was it? How were the shows? Was it super violent? Did it just depend? I'm curious about that.
Oh, so this is 1987. We played our first show, and I thought the scene was great. I mean, it was definitely skinhead stuff going on, like that. That was annoying. It was a little weird because it was so fickle, like you might at any time, because it was so pervasive, you might at any time, you might be friends with, or you might know, or it might be this cute thing at your school, or this might be, like cute little skinheads or people that that you're friends with. But there's so many of them that they don't, and they don't fucking take notes, and they don't. So you might find yourself getting in a problem with this group. You know what I mean? So it's like, it was just, you never knew what the fuck was going on, and it was uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. And I don't like fighting. I don't like any of it. So it just, that was a bummer. But other than that, it was kind of great. It was right before Fugazi started playing, and so you're still kind of, psyched about Rites of Spring, psyched about Dag Nasty. And Soulside was probably the biggest young band at the time, I think, I would say. Ignition had just started up, and that band I fucking love. So that was like one of my favorite bands at the time. So happy that we got to play with them a bunch. And it was just, it was a very social, very much flirting, very much like so many meeting new people in your area that liked skating or liked punk or liked whatever, or liked making out or liked doing whatever. Everybody was sort of like just a very, very, very social situation.
That sounds good. Yeah. I lived in Philadelphia, or I lived outside of Philadelphia, and then I lived in Philadelphia for a while. So that's where I discovered all this stuff, and the scene was great. But there was a lot of violence. I think Philadelphia was a notoriously violent place for hardcore in the late 90s when I found it, in early 2000s. And I know what you mean about like there was a group of guys who, they said they ran the skinheads out, which is great because we don't want that. But now we're getting beaten up by them. And they're the gang mentality at the show, and they're beating people up, and it's like some of them I knew and was cool with, and some of them I didn't. So it's this weird conflicting thing. So I mean, I would avoid like the tough guy hardcore shows for the most part, but I wasn't super into that anyway. So I would avoid those shows to avoid trouble.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think I don't really remember being on the receiving end of much of that stuff, but it was, friends were, and it just bummed me out. It's just like I just felt like so much energy for something that was so unnecessary, but it's weird though, because I have friends now that I didn't know them then, but they were there. They saw Swiz. They were in like a faceless person inside of the skinhead thing. And they're just the sweetest people now. You know what I mean? And I was just, and you think you're sort of at this like, yeah, skinhead sucks. Like, I don't know, man. I had a great time. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, I just really love fighting. And then you're like, what? Like, what? And then you're like, oh, I get it. And like, there's like this. So the thing that if two people want to fight, great, fucking go fight, and that happens a lot. You got sort of like, just like, this person wants to hook up with that person, but they're not kissing, they're fighting. You know what I mean? So like, as long as it's like that, whatever, go fucking nuts. But the gang up on one person that's a target and that kind of stuff. Just how can you get behind that? Like, what's the point? I don't know, man. But I don't think that Swiz didn't really attract much of that. And I, at that point, as much as I might have liked the Cro-Mags, I wouldn't, didn't seem dangerous to go see the Cro-Mags. That's the only thing I can think of, in DC anyway. And I would say that I think that certainly at the beginning, as a young kid, 14-year-old, going to see these shows and these big, exciting even just seeing slam dancing or seeing anything like looked crazy violent and definitely added to a level of something different or exciting. You know what I mean? So I mean that level of danger, as long as I wasn't getting punched in the face, kind of added like some excitement to the whole thing and some differentiation. I don't know what that means, but it kind of made it exciting.
Big time. When I went to my first big hardcore show and saw everything that was going on, it was nuts, like completely nuts, and I was hooked. It was such a thrill. Like even seeing people get pummeled. It wasn't me getting pummeled, so seeing it was just like, oh my God, but also, whoa, this is cool.
Yeah. It's like immersive movie. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
But
so you're 17, Swiz gets started playing. How far out did Swiz get? Did you guys tour a lot? How much did you do?
We did a whole bunch of East Coast stuff, like quite a bit of East Coast. Like there was at one point we were hitting Rhode Island, twice a month. It's just nuts. But we did 2 full US tours, 88 and 89. And we're poised to go to Europe, which was a novel thing at the time, but kind of dissolved as that was coming together.
Mm. And you're still in high school at this time?
No. By the time we did, high school was only when we started. We started in the spring, and that summer we played our first show. So I was out. Nathan, the bass player, he was still in high school. He graduated right before we went on our first tour. We were able to go on tour after he graduated.
And what was your life like at the time? Did you think about what you wanted to do in the future? Did you think about going to college? Did you just want to play music full time? Like, what was going on with you?
I wanted to skate. I was sponsored at the time and skating vert ramps every day that I could. So that was my main focus, and Swiz was an aside to that. And but then also, I couldn't just be in a band, so I was, I chose a college near my home, like one that I could stay at home and drive to college. And Alex Daniels, the drummer, did the same thing. So we were able to keep the band going after summer. And so it was just, going to school at the bare minimum amount of school that I could, and then playing shows and skating. Nice.
And how were the shows you were playing? I mean, how were those tours? Was there a good reception? Could you feel anything building at the time?
Sometimes. I mean, it was really spotty, Like, I mean, we weren't trailblazing or anything. We were following other paths that people were going, like we got our numbers from Soulside, or we got our numbers from, you know what I mean? Like we were going in what was becoming a solidified circuit. That we didn't make any money. We lost a lot of money on our second tour. Like it could go really wrong really fast, and that second tour kind of fell apart financially, and, just either a show falling through, or we don't have enough money because it was booked in such a way that you couldn't drive that distance, and we didn't have anybody at the show the night before. So it was very frustrating. When it was bad, it was really fucking bad. And when it was good, it was almost good enough to make you forget the bad stuff. Like, that's how I describe it. It was very, I think hardcore was doing really well if you were a straight edge band. I mean, there was like, that shit was everywhere, and that's really what people wanted to consume, it seemed. And,
was that around when like all the youth crew straight edge stuff was happening?
Yeah, that was Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, Chain of Strength, like all these. And I don't mean to lump Chain of Strength in with that, but there was sort of this. There was a New York straight edge hardcore thing that just saying that it didn't matter what the name of the band was. It felt like, and then it was just like, oh, it's sold out, and I got a hoodie, and and then we're like, we're Swiz, we're none of that stuff, and they're like, I don't give a fuck, and so that was 100% envious, but like also is just like, fuck this, like, so that was but that was the most, I would say that was the most successful thing. And then of course Fugazi came along after that and sort of cleaned up. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Were you guys, so you guys didn't identify as straight edge or anything? Like, did you drink at the time? Did you? No,
we didn't. I feel like maybe, no, Sean was vegetarian. That was a big deal at the time. Yeah, no, I mean, I think no. The easiest answer is no. I mean, we all sort of, it's not so much that like we were like ragers or like we wanted to just get fucked up all the time. It wasn't anything like that, but it's just like that wasn't the priority of what we were certainly writing about or concerned about. You know what I mean? Like it's. I remember at the time feeling like what a safe rebellion to be white and straight edge and singing about being straight edge to other straight edge kids in Utah. It's just it just didn't feel like, it just wasn't on my radar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I know the lyrics touch on race at times, and I mean, how was it for Swiz at that time? When I got into hardcore in the late 90s, there still wasn't a whole lot of diversity, Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's weird. It's really weird how, I guess the United States in general, but hardcore in particular, the way that I feel like it's diverse, or I feel like it's open-minded, or you think it is, but it's no more diverse than my suburban neighborhood, which like is as diverse as I feel like I am. It's I fucking lived in Bethesda. You know what I mean? It was like at the time it was everywhere was that. There was quite a bit of isolation, but I think, but then, like, the preeminent hardcore band, Bad Brains, like was they were black, or like, or was this weird that it didn't. I wondered, like, I thought we would have got more racist shit, given that some skinheads were, Nazis or whatever. But we didn't, or Sean, we wrote a book recently, and a lot of this I'm learning because I didn't think to ask at the time. It was just, hey, we're in the band. It's Sean. I skate with Sean. Let's do this. Let's do a band. And then, like, people just sort of like, does your singer like rap? I was like, no, well, I don't know. No, he likes hardcore. That's why we're in this band, and like, a lot of stuff that didn't even cross my mind, or that I filled in the blank. I assumed he got a normal amount of racism thrown at him. You know what I mean? But he was like, no, I didn't get any more or less from hardcore than I did, from the United States. So it's like, and I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, it's like when we went into this, I'm spoiling some of the stuff he wrote, which blew my mind at the time. It's like when he went to the South and we toured there, like, you're anticipating what the South used to bring and still brings is fucking racism, And he's like, no, I really didn't know if they hated me because I was black or because I was punk. So I just figured if you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. And if you're not cool, then fuck you, But he didn't really parse it out to like, why am I being fucked with? It's just, it doesn't matter. I'm being fucked with. You know what I mean? It was weird. I never really thought about it until recently, until we combed back over this stuff for this book that we worked on. Right.
Yeah. You said you had a European tour in the works, but things kind of fell apart. What happened? Was that when the band ended?
That was almost when the band, that hastened it quickly. Yeah. We were, Quicksand was just starting up then. They didn't have anything out. And Walter had just been to Europe, probably with Gorilla Biscuits, but it might've been Youth of Today. So he had all these phone numbers and shit, and he wanted to do a tour over there. But I think they couldn't do it themselves because they hadn't have anything out. So he asked if Swiz would do a package with Quicksand. And yeah, I was like, yes, let's do it. And got my passport and everything. But, it just, we couldn't, we were having so many issues as a band and financially, as in like people trying to stay in the apartment that you're in because now we're in apartments or whatever, you know what I mean? And financially leaving a job that was giving you money when the band doesn't give you money kind of quickly put a no. And then that sort of was like a nail in the coffin for like, what the fuck are we doing then if we can't go to Europe? So we, there's a bunch of other things, but that was the first sort of clear sign that this wasn't going to continue much longer.
When you broke up, did you stay in touch with people? I know Sweet Belly Freakdown started a few years later, but I mean, was there any bad blood? Did you guys kind of stay in touch? Was it okay?
Yeah, it was fine. It was just, I think I didn't have any, I feel like we did stay in touch. I mean, it was a very like special experience, and it wasn't like, so it's hard to just let that go, and the friendships that sort of built out of that were stronger than the annoyances within it and the betrayal, quote unquote, of whatever, because they weren't really betrayals. It's just like, yeah, I know it sucks. Yeah, I know we're not making money. I don't want to stop, but you do. Okay, let's stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. If everybody's not on board, I mean, you have to like kick people out and get new people, which is not very fun, or you stop. I mean, that's what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah. We had one. Yeah. And, we did have we had two shifts in members. The first one being, we were a 5-piece when we started back at the very beginning. We had another guitarist, Ramsey. He and Sean started the band and then brought in everybody else. And then we asked Ramsey to leave the band because we were very much, all the four of us clicked, and then Ramsey didn't click in the same way. So we kind of kicked him out. And then the only other change was after that horrible second tour, we all decided we would break up. And, but then we kind of thought, no, let's just get a different bass player. I think Nathan's the problem, and he wasn't. He was one of them, but like, there was a lot of problems. But he didn't want to tour anymore, and we were still kind of feeling good. So we got our roadie, or my best friend, who was our roadie, was Dave, and he picked up on bass, and we kept going for another almost a year. But other than that, yeah, at that point, I mean, we're not going to get a new singer, and they definitely couldn't get another guitarist. But
of course not.
No, fuck that.
So when you start up Bluetip, what's going on with you? I'm guessing you're like early 20s. Are you over hardcore? Did you stay connected to hardcore? I mean, clearly you wanted to do something different musically. What was going on with you?
So after Swiz broke up in 1990, I just fuck music, like fuck bands, fuck all that shit. I sort of really dilly-dallied in college, and that was getting silly, and I just wanted to get finished. So I kind of cranked through that for the next 2 years to try to finish that up, and came out with the graphics degree and started doing record covers for people. I had done them for Swiz, but people started asking me to do it for them, and I was getting better at it, knew what I was doing, which started doing stuff for Dischord. So, doing Severin, Circus Lupus, Lungfish, and Fugazi, like for the last 30 years, like I still do covers for Dischord. And that, that was my first real graphic design, was my first real job, the only thing that's ever paid me money up till now, including now, hopefully, and moving forward. But I still liked music and played in a band that I liked a lot, but it was not, it was more grungy, like, cause that was the time, and like, and it was local, so I could do it. But it didn't, I really got excited about like touring again. And Dave from Swiz and my friend, we decided to start a new band in 1994, 95. So it was like a 3 to 5 year break. when that's when we started up Bluetip. So yeah, out of school, just living super cheap, like I think I was paying like $150 a month in rent. So it was very easy to just go off on tour and do whatever, pick up odd jobs. I didn't have a job for like a honest job, for years. Like I'd make just enough money doing record covers or doing odd jobs under the table. And then we would go tour. So it was fun.
Yeah, that sounds like the most fun. Living cheap in your 20s, getting by, going on tour. I mean, what could be better? Yeah,
and that was, and the other, that's really when we got to see more of the world. So like the United States, we were smarter. So we planned things better and were more efficient with money, and so that we could keep doing it. And, once our record came out, we were able to go to Europe and we went, I think Bluetip went there like 6 or 7 times or something. We went to Japan twice, and it was always never financially, we didn't make money, but free 7 weeks in Europe is and every night you're meeting a new person and hanging out, and it's all feels, that volunteering for that band, basically like you trading travel for dancing and singing and playing guitar, where the fuck this little stage show you got going on was totally worth it.
Yeah. When the band started up, had you had experience singing? Was it hard for you to transition to the front person?
I had not sung. And I don't know why. It was, probably vanity. I mean, I think I was very into the idea of being up front, and less so now, but I think that went a long way to alleviating any stage fear or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I love playing music. I love being on stage, and I figured out my voice, and I really loved writing lyrics. So it, I just kind of had to get over any hesitations with that,
Yeah. When I started playing bass and then I moved to guitar, I wanted to sing in a hardcore band really bad when I was like 17, 18. So every time I did something, I would want to do the next thing. So it just took me a really long time to build up enough confidence and get over the fear to actually do that. So, when people can do it when they're in their teens or early 20s still, I'm always like, well, mad props for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think I have never felt okay with just singing like that. It was always always an extension and a hiding behind the guitar. Like it was like, I want to play guitar, and I'm up here. So, and I like singing, but I've never done it without a guitar ever. One show when my guitar broke, but that's it.
Yeah, me either. Because I've never been in a position where I have people running to join a band I'm in, so I have to play one of the instruments. But like you're saying, I'm a control freak too, so I want to be like playing the music and singing it, and I do being able to hide behind it to a degree too. So I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
that was also a shift. I think it was a big. When you think of your archetypes, like many of certainly. Up through Minor Threat and continuing through Youth of Today and other bands, Cro-Mags and such. I mean, it was like very much like you're either a 4-piece with a singer who is not doing anything, or you're a 5-piece with a singer who is not doing anything except singing. So like that was like I am the singer and I am the I'm running around like this or I'm doing whatever, is very much a hardcore construct up until like Rites of Spring or something where. After that, I feel like, that's something I could do. Like, what I mean? Like that, to me, that I like it when someone's playing guitar and singing. Like I just don't always like, with the exception of the ones I said, Minor Threat or whomever, like I like it when someone's playing guitar and singing, like the Rocket from the Crypt or something like that. It's like, ooh, everyone's doing something.
Right. Yeah. When I was really young, I wanted it to fit the hardcore archetype. But at 43 years old now, if the band is good, I don't care what they're doing. I've seen bands where they program the bass and it's just 2 guitar players and it sounds great. I've seen bands where the drummer sings. It doesn't matter. If it's good, it's good. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Bluetip signed with Dischord. That's great, right? to be on the Dischord roster?
For sure. I mean, check. I feel like, I mean, that from the start of listening to hardcore, that was and being from DC area, that was, where else are you going to go? Whereas
How did I think I discovered that band in the late 90s, early 2000s, 99, 2000, let's say. How did you feel about the band and the scene at that time? I mean, there was like a big melodic metalcore thing happening. There was a big pop punk emo thing happening. So, there was like some post-hardcore bands. I listened to all of it to some degree. How did you feel about the band at that time, and were you paying attention to like any of the trends or anything going on then?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because you're going out and you're trying to do your thing and you're trying to feel excited about doing your thing, you definitely notice who's resonating and who's not. And similar to Swiz, I think that there was places that liked Bluetip, I think, but I think there was a lot of bands at the time. It was a very, very active scene of guitar bands doing guitar stuff, so I think that I would put us in the low middle of having accomplished anything, the low end of the middle of whatever. Because I think that the bands that were doing, obviously Quicksand was huge at the time, but and Fugazi still huge at the time, and like the emo Texas Is the Reason, Promise Ring, and those kind of things were really resonating with people. And then At the Drive-In comes along, and then you're just like, fuck, what am I going to do with that? You know what I mean? Like that's we toured with them twice, and I remember the first time we saw them, the first night of the first time that we're going to play with them for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm just like, fuck it. Because they just how can you, the energy level, songs, like everything about it just was just cackling with like fucking electricity and energy and like
they were really something else. There was nothing else like them at that time. I was supposed to go to the tour. You toured with them. Maybe it was 99, 2000. I don't know. I was supposed to go. I think the show didn't happen for some reason, but I really wish it would have.
Yeah. That was kind of what was going on at the time. I know, honestly, like at the time, same, I would feel very envious about I wish that this was more sustainable for us. I wish this was, all these different things. But in hindsight, fucking zero complaints about any of it. Like, we did what we were supposed to do. We played the music that came out of us naturally. You know what I mean? And I can't be mad that this amount of people liked it and this amount of people didn't like it and this amount of people didn't notice. Like, there's nothing to, that's just fucking life. You know what I mean? And so I have zero. There's very little that I would change about what we did or how we did it. It's just it did what it did.
That's how you have to do it. Like you play what comes out of you. You play what the other people in the band are playing, and you do your thing, and whatever happens. Like, look, I mean, if people do this, more power to you, whatever. This is not how I operate. If you're like checking the popularity charts and you're like, this is popular now, let me do that, or let me switch to that. I can't do that. Like, I mean, I can be influenced, but I'm not going to completely change what I'm doing to try to fit into some thing. You know what I mean? It's not how I operate, and it sounds like it's not how you operate either.
Yeah, so I'm too stubborn, I guess. Yeah, it's wild. It was pretty crazy seeing, like, as long as I've been seeing and paying attention to this one little corner of music, seeing the copycats that come after the thing that was rad, and like how many bands sounded like Fugazi after Fugazi, how many bands sounded like At the Drive-In following that, and or the Chili Peppers for that matter. Like, and you know what I mean? It's just like this and usually to diminished returns and diminished respect or whatever, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm not so good at that.
Yeah, I never, once we get to level, I just talked about this recently. Once we get to like level 3, 4, 5 of the copycat bands, I'm like, I'm done. Like, I really liked Saves the Day in 1998, 1999. There were about 7 billion bands that sounded like that after them. And even then, I was just like, no, I'm good. But I had moved on to post-hardcore anyway. I was listening to Bluetip. I was listening to Quicksand. I was listening to Burning Airlines, like Rye Coalition, a lot of Ink and Dagger still, all that stuff. So I've gone through many phases with this music, and now I just like it all.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Bluetip, in my band now, I have to tell you this. The working title for one of our songs was Bluetip Song, because I showed the guys the song Polymer, and I was like, can we do something like this? And the song that came out sounds nothing like Polymer, but we did kind of keep that opening. So the working title was a Bluetip Song.
That's funny. Like literally, like speaking of working titles, Bluetip, literally working titles often never got changed, so they would just be the title. So like, those, I love the shorthand names of like the Bluetip song Cheap Rip was, I ripped off Cheap Trick, so I'm calling this Cheap Rip as a sort of placeholder until I actually write the words. But then instead I changed the lyrics to fit the title that it's always been. You know what I mean? And like, and so I hear you. Like everyone, like Joan, like, we had a song called Joan Jett for a while because it reminded me of this Joan Jett song. But yeah, I'm totally down with that.
I love that. I love when the name just gets kept. The Life and Times did that too. They had a song called Passion Pit because it sounded like Passion Pit, and he just kept it. I like that. That's bold.
Yeah, it's because I feel like you need to name your babies the second they're born, just to give them identity and give them a chance in the world. You know what I mean? So my iPhone is full of guitar riffs that I'm sitting here on a Zoom and I got an idea and my goal is to immediately name it something, just so that now I can be like, oh yeah, go find, Honcharello, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like Honcharello, like, okay, great. That's good enough of a name for now. And that at least gives it 50% more existence than if it's just riff 3 or recording 1.
You know what? I'm going to start doing that because I have a ton of voice memos in my phone and it's just new recording 53, 54, 55. No, I got to give it a name because then I never go back through them. So I'm going to give it a name.
You do. I would strongly, well, you don't have to do it immediately, but when you've got 10, right? Or when you've got a moment, if you're walking your dog or whatever, go through your things, play them, name it, whatever comes to your mind. Type it in, go to the next one, name it, because it helps you mentally to catalog them, first of all. And then if it's a engaging enough name, you'll seek it out later. And it helps me. I mean, admittedly, none of them, I don't use them ever, like 99% of the stuff that I stick in my phone is just going to die on a hard drive somewhere. But certainly with like Red Hair, the last band that I was in, or am in, I guess, all of those came from songs that I wrote. The ones that I wrote are songs that came out of my phone that had that sort of like ability to not sink in the din. You know what I mean? Because it had a name and it was like, oh, don't forget me, and they become like favorite songs in your phone. And then you turn them into songs when your band gets together. It's a great trick.
I'm going to do it. I have to. So how were those tours with At the Drive-In? I mean, I think you were on a later tour with them when they were really like blowing up before they exploded. How was that?
So we toured with them twice. Once before they probably after when Vaya came out. So after In Casino Out, right before they were about to sign to someone, or they were heading that direction, right? I remember the first night we played with them, like, and I saw them. And, Cedric and Omar just have these big ass fucking afros and they're just going crazy. And I just was like scared for like a second. Like I had this weird, what the fuck? And I don't know if that was like my own mortality of my band or what, but like either way, it was like this really like, holy shit, what the fuck's going on here? And God damn, I fucking love those guys. Like as people, they're so sweet, funny, and weird, and like just from a different world of, they didn't grow up the way I grew up, coming from El Paso. It's just, they, at the time they were so cute. You know what I mean? And like, I just wanted to fucking hug each one of them, like in this, and they would explode on stage, but you know what I mean? And, so that first tour, I really, really loved touring with them. Like it was just amazing, even as it was humbling, to have to play with them. It was super inspiring, and I was happy for them and happy to see them. You know what I mean? And that was great. And then when we toured with them after Relationship of Command came out, I think that, things were much bigger. Things were much, we're getting a little unraveled for them, I think. And we were out with them and International Noise Conspiracy and I think Murder City Devils for most of it. And it was great. I mean, the shows were big. They were, and everything was fine. It was great. They were fine. But it was to see them explode in a basement to 20 people, and then to see them explode at the Met to 2,000 people, and it's like the same thing, and when it stopped being the same thing, like later, I feel like, you could tell that, like, say Omar was not feeling it, and so he wasn't moving around. You're like, why aren't you moving around? Do the crazy shit. He's just like, I'm not a fucking monkey, and like, I feel for them, and it's that was a lot for them. And they seemed like people that were up to the challenge in terms of, like, they had the ability, but maybe emotionally it's a hard thing. You know what I mean? And it kind of quickly made me not so eager to jump into that lifestyle or to keep banging on the door of the lifestyle I wasn't getting into. You know what I mean? Like, obviously the bands that I was in, I wanted Swiz to succeed, or wanted it to do better. I wanted it to not lose money. I wanted it to not break up. Right. Same thing with Bluetip. I love that we got to travel everywhere. I do wish that we came home with money in our pockets. I just, it would have been great because then I could have, not lived in a $150 basement with mosquitoes, like something, you know what I mean? So it's weird because I don't, I don't think that, like, I wanted to be, I don't think I'm sad that we didn't get to the level that other people did, because if that had happened, all this other stuff wouldn't have happened in my life. And I like the stuff that happened in my life. You know what I mean? So,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel the same way. When I was young, I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to be big. I wanted to have success. I wanted to have respect, all of that stuff. But when I look back now, I was just looking for things I never had. I was looking for validation or love or I don't know, through the band, which I liked playing music, but it didn't happen. But I'm glad it didn't happen because I would for sure be dead. If I had experienced at the drive-in level success when I was young, I probably would have died. So I'm glad it did not happen now at age 43.
Well, I'm glad you didn't get that success either, because you would have taken it. You would have taken it from me, and then I would have. Yeah, no, I don't know.
You would have been very upset.
I would have been. It's just, I'm glad you didn't die, I guess.
Yeah, no, and now I've got my shit together, and I can do things on my own terms, and this is the way it should be, and that's why it's happening this way. So there you go. So Bluetip continues until about 2001, around when you moved to New York City. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, I moved up a little. I moved up before then and was commuting back and forth, which was for a few years there. I was my wife at the time, my girlfriend, moved out of DC and moved to New York. So I was traveling up and back and forth. And then I just, instead of paying rent here, I just moved it up there, and I was still traveling back and forth. So it was like sort of a gray area of where I was actually living half the month. Yeah, then we eventually broke up after 7 drummers, and that's when I'd sort of segued into Retisonic, which is the band that I was doing from roughly 2001 or 2 through kind of really till 2004 or 5, but continued on through 2007-ish.
What happened with Bluetip? I read an old interview. You said there was some band inner tension, some creative differences. Was some of that stuff going on? And it sounds like there was a problem holding on to a drummer too.
and it all sounds so original. So what a unique set of problems. I don't know. Like it was just normal shit, you know, like I wrote a lot of the stuff and other people wrote stuff and I think that maybe not everybody in the band liked all of it, you know, and I think my own limitations as a singer probably were starting to get annoying to some of the people I was playing with. I don't know. It didn't really resonate with enough people. And I think that frustrated, you know, certainly like for instance, a drummer, you know, if they're in a band and they're putting the same amount of energy out, no matter what band they're playing in. And then this one is not making any money and I'm not even sure I like the songs. And then, I could go do this band and I can make a lot more money and I like the songs just as much or little. I'll go do that. You know what I mean? So I think that, you know, when at some point, if it's clearly not sustainable for everybody, that's, you know, we had no problem trading people out. Like drummers, we're just like, oh, you want to leave? That's great. We got another person. Not to dismiss. We wanted everybody to stay, but like, you know, when our first drummer, Zach, who I loved writing with him, great, you know, but he was reluctant to be a drummer again because he was a really good singer and a really good guitarist and a really good frontman on his own. And he just started to itch being a drummer again. So he left. It's like, okay, but you don't want to leave? All right, that's fine. And then we got Joe Gorelick and that was great, but then he couldn't stay. And so he left. And then we just went through, sort of rotated through people that were excited and then kind of realized what it was. And then like, you know, or where, you know, whatever, and left. And we had no problem bringing in another person. Not that we are cutthroat. It's just that, we're going to keep going. You know what I mean? There was no question that just because this person didn't want to do it, whatever. It got a little harder when Dave left the band, the guitarist, my friend, only because that was sort of, we had started the band, you know, so that was like what are we doing now? Fuck it, let's keep going. And then we did Polymer and all the, you know, that record and stuff and toured a lot more. It was all great. No complaints. But it just, at some point, it was just not seeing. The only place that we saw growth and not retraction was the UK. Like we could go there, we could, you know, play to larger audiences, growing audiences, and it really caught on there in a way that it stopped catching on in the United States or whatever. So
they're smarter in the UK.
They are really smart. They use extra vowels in their words. It's great.
Were you bummed when Bluetip was done? That's like 7 years of a band.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Any of these bands, any band, there's like, you know, the severe depression about maybe not when it was leading up to what was clearly going to be done. You know what I mean? Like it was depressing coming to the gravestone, but then it's great. And then we did Retisonic and we did that for a while. And so no, I mean, it was hard to let it go, but once you let it go, then, you know, it feels good. So
Retisonic, that must have been a fun time. You're young, living in New York City, new band. Where did you live when you lived here?
I lived in the Lower East Side. I lived on Suffolk and Norfolk, or two different locations. And then a little bit in Greenpoint before Greenpoint was as fancy as it is. And yeah, it was good. It was really good. I liked it a lot. Very. Yeah, I don't know. I loved that time. It's really fun. It felt like we were. I don't think we really knew what we were doing from a direction standpoint, but I really loved the music that we were writing. I don't know if we were putting it in the right place or if we had the best strategy of what we were doing. Because I think that, you know, we were a little more concerned with. Since I was out of DC, we couldn't be on Dischord anymore. So it's just like, oh, well, now we're out on our own. What the fuck are we going to do? should we try to get signed to a major label? Should we get a manager? Should we do this? We do that. So we did get a manager, and did the little dance routines that you're supposed to do to try to get signed, and got close, but it didn't happen. And then still managed to tour around and still do stuff and really love the music. That's that sums up Retisonic.
Did you want to get signed to a major? That was the goal?
It was one of the goals for sure. Yeah, I think that was, but going back to that problem, not the problem, the going back to the list of things you would do to get signed, one of them was not change your music. So we still wrote the music that we wanted to write. I'm still the singer that I am. I'm still, so those weren't all pluses in the eyes of the labels that we were looking at, talking to or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And at that time, it seemed like you could still really do something and make a career out of music. I mean, in the scene I was operating in, you saw Thursday blow up. You saw Coheed and Cambria blow up. My friends in Circa Survive, they got started in 2004. They blew up. So it was like, maybe you can really do this thing. But
yeah, it was definitely like the last gasp of that model. There was still money left over from CD sales, and there was still, like Rival Schools was a band. But everybody, like I remember around the time that the other bands that our contemporaries at the time were like Instruction and like I don't know if you remember that band, but there's like bands that were still managing to get signed. You know what I mean? But it was literally nobody had money in the account actually. You know what I mean? Like so those bands got signed and then they got dropped. And then like it was even Rival Schools, I think it was kind of things were folding in. Things were closing up and or at least that's what it felt like. And people were might still have the corporate credit card and might still be buying stuff for people, but you could tell that like we were months away from that stopping. So
we weren't getting a big advance anymore. You might get the contract, but no big advance.
Yeah, well, we didn't get shit, so I don't know. I don't know what they got, but they took it back.
So you put out the debut LP in 2004. Now there was a re-release, which ended up being the record Robots Fucking. So what I read, you tracked 18 songs, 6 were released. So was that new record like the remaining songs from that session that you had tracked?
No. So what we did is we did an EP and we did an album on Silver 3, which was, the EP was, I think we had hoped that would be the calling card that would get us the label so our album would be on the major label, blah, 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 right? Didn't happen. So we're like, all right, fuck it. We still want to put this out and so we went, Silver 3 put it out, and which is around the time that all stopped. And we were touring, New York was expensive. And this is around the time I left to come to California. So we broke up and around 2004 and and happily just like, fuck this, fuck you all. I don't want to do this anymore. But then once I got here and the pressure was off of living in the Lower East Side or the pressure of whatever the fuck, like just the grind of being in New York. And, I get here and I feel like I had built up crazy amounts of muscle, because here I was just like, fucking, we're going to crush it here. Oh my God. It's like landing on the moon. You know what I mean? And like, I can do jumps like 30,000 feet. Like, whoa, like I really felt super energized here because it was just easy, like it just felt like I just, the first day we got here, my wife got a car, I got a motorcycle, and we got a house. Like we're just like bang, 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 knocked it off the list and fucking boom, and that just didn't feel like the stuff you could do in California, or excuse me, in New York. And it also didn't feel like the pace that, our landlord, for example, was, we're ready to fucking go. And he's just like, whoa, slow down, man. And we're like, no, we're go. So, that was fun. And then, so after I was here for a while, I just started writing more and more songs and ended up with a shit ton of songs, and then reached back out to Joe, my partner, writing partner and, member of Retisonic, and we started, let's go record songs. And it ended up being 18 songs. So we recorded 18 fucking songs. And that's too long for an album. So we put one out as a 7-inch or like a EP, and then the rest out as an album. But again, not having a label, not having anything. So that was released by a European label called Arctic Rodeo, which did a bunch of stuff for New York bands. Same people same scene that we were in New York.
Right. They're the ones who did the New Rising Suns record too, I think. The one that never came out. Garrett's other band from Texas is the reason. Yeah. I recognize their name from the documentary.
Yep.
Well, Swiz is back. We have the discography, which is sold out now, right? And then there's the band book, Swiz, through Akashic Books, which is still available, everybody. And you've played a couple shows. How did that happen? I know that you guys got back together and were playing in Sweet Belly Freakdown back in the day, but how did this new Swiz official thing get started?
Well, we did in probably 2013. Same thing, having a bunch of songs. I realized, like, I wanted to play with Sean again, and I wanted to play with Dave again, and Joe is always, I always want to play with Joe. So we started a band called Red Hair, which is very much in the vein of Swiz, and Dischord put out those two records. And in the midst of Red Hair, touring as much as we could because of work or whatever, but doing what we could do. In the middle of that, Swiz was asked to play the Salad Days movie premiere back in 2014, and because we were mostly up and running anyway, it was just getting Alex to play the drums. We were able to play that show, and that was a blast. Like that was we did it as a surprise. We didn't call it Swiz. We just jumped in the middle of an existing show, and that was great. And fast forward to, that was around the time that I started working on this box set, which is now finally coming out. So 12 fucking years ago, I started this box set, and just sort of finally went through all the boxes I need to go through to find the photos, and found the energy and the emotional, able to let it go, whatever the fuck, to finish that thing. So that's coming out. It's done, and they're shipping soon, which is good. So I'll be happy to close that chapter. In the midst of, the reason it took so long to do the box set is because I kept procrastinating, and one of those procrastinations that bore fruit was this book. I floated the idea of like writing something, like just let's write something. And I want it to be a paperback, and I don't want any pictures in it, and I don't want to, or whatever the ideas were. We all kind of, got back into the idea of working together again, but in a whole completely different medium, writing. And so all these, it's not so much like, Swiz lasted this long, Swiz played this many shows. On Thursday, I was sad because my guitar string broke. Like, it's not, it's not that laundry list of accomplishments or facts. We instead wrote kind of in what I'm calling the negative space around the band. So it's more about what was going on in my life after practice, and not so much that you care that I was working at this place or whatever, but what was the scene? What was the, what were the interactions with the band, interpersonal, and what did it feel like to be in that scene, in this band, contributing to whatever the fuck was coming out of DC at the time. It's very much more of a literary exercise in that way. Though there is some journal excerpts from the time, and there's other stuff. So anyway, just in working with everybody again on the box set and in the book, we started to add photos. We started to, really reconnect in a way that we hadn't connected since the band broke up. And, it was very awesome, because like this was a big part of our lives, a very formative time in our lives back then. And to revisit it with fresh creativity, in a fresh medium, really kind of made it exciting again. And so I don't think we had any designs to play any shows, but then Positive Force, similar to when Salad Days asked if Swiz would play, Positive Force came up on their 40th anniversary. They did all of the benefit shows. DC is very famous for benefit shows, and so they did all the shows for, as far back as Fugazi, or maybe not Rites of Spring, but back in like 86 through whatever. And Swiz played a bunch of them, and Bluetip played some of them. So Mark Anderson asked if Swiz would play one of these celebratory 40th anniversary shows, and what would have been a hard no any other time turned into a soft yes, and then it actually happened. So
nice. How does it feel playing the shows now?
It's cool. Like, it was really. I think the main difference of this is that working on the book, we had everybody that was in the band and Amanda working on it. So it was like 7 different people writing this book, and so that put us all in close contact again. That includes Nathan and Dave and Alex and Sean and me and Ramsey and Amanda. And so when we came around to playing the shows, you're like, well, fuck, we got 2 bass players here, Dave and Nathan. What are we going to do? And after some back and forth, we realized, let's just bump back up to 2 guitars. And Nathan is obviously a fucking incredible guitarist. You shudder to think. And that was such a good boost. Like, in the first time we all played together, like as a 5-piece, it was like, holy shit, this is, it was really fun hearing Nathan play guitar on songs that he wrote when he was a bassist. You know what I mean? So to hear him play the guitar riff he wrote, Ghost or fucking Godspeed or whatever, those 2 songs, it was just super fun. So we did those 2 shows, and it's great.
Nice. So yeah, I like the sound of the book. The things you described are the exact things I like to ask about when I have these conversations. Like, what was going on with you? What was going on with the band? Where did you live? What did you do? I'm not like so much interested in where did you record and what kind of guitar did you use, but that personal stuff is always interesting to me.
Yeah, and that's what's one of the things I'm the most psyched about in this thing is how it becomes the source material for new writing, right? So it's a lot of these are short stories, there's straight up fucking poems in there, but like there's short stories, about a specific gas station stop. Not that it was a great gas station stop, but there was some thing that happened there that was worthy of a kernel of a story. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's in a long necklace or chain of other events, like, this one night that we wrote about is like, we had just played with Soulside in Salt Lake City, and we were about to go to, San Francisco to play Gilman Street, and our van broke down, or that none of that shit matters, but it is in this string. And so we're just telling this one short story. And like, what I love about what I love about good short stories, not to say that we wrote good ones, but like what I love about good ones is that they're contained. You don't know everything, but not knowing everything makes you fill it in, and so that was kind of the inspiration, I think, for some of this writing, emulating some of the stuff, or at least taking to heart some of the writing that I like, and wanting to get some closer to something like that, rather than just putting up our journals, or just putting up, we made $675 on this tour, or whatever it might have been, or we lost $675, excuse me.
Yeah. The not knowing is good. Some imagination is good. Like, they would do that in older movies, older horror movies. You fill in the blank with your mind, and that makes it so much more impactful. And now in modern horror movies, like, someone stumbles into a room and there's like the newspaper clippings on the wall, and the plot is written out on the wall, and it like spells it all out for you. And it's like, oh, okay, we get it. No, that's not the way. It is not the way.
I totally, I 100% agree. Like, I feel like the way that, with the amount of information that is accessible right now, like for a band or for anything, you don't have to think, you just take it in, right? And like, you could always see a video of this, you could always see that, you could watch a podcast of this or that. And when I think back to, say, the first time I heard Minor Threat, all that I had was what I was holding in my hand, a 12-inch record with the insert and the music within, right? And so because I don't have all the information, you fill it in, and you're going to fill it in with something that you know, and therefore you're kind of making an emotional connection with that record because you have to put something in there. You know what I mean? And even just listening to a record versus watching a video. Like, it's very exciting to watch a video. I'm not saying it's not, but if you're just listening to it, if that's the only amount of information you're given, then your mind is going to put visuals to it, or wherever you are. Like for me, there's places in DC when I drive, like if I drive around DuPont Circle, the only thing that goes through my head is Rocket from the Crypt, because just at some point, that's what I was listening to at DuPont Circle, and it got stapled and it's just stuck. And then that's what I always think of. You know what I mean? And so making these connections that are really personal, you know, to a record cover or lyrics or music or whatever, because you haven't been bombarded with 1,000% of the rest of the information. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think having that, I fucking lost the thread of what I was saying, but basically like it just makes it, I'm going to stop right there because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore.
I miss that in the pre-internet age. Like, yeah, I can think of landmarks that I have attached a song to, you know, just because we were driving by and that's the song that was on. Or even back in the day, like I got really obsessed with the band Ink and Dagger. This is 2001? Yeah, let's say 2001. And there's not the internet like there is today. There's not Spotify. You can't look up the entire discography. So I only have the CDs I have, right? But then someone says, no, there's this 7-inch and there's this 7-inch, but the record label's gone. You can't go and order it. And I'm like, wait, there's songs out there I could hear that I haven't heard. So you go on eBay and you get it. And then you finally win the bid and you get the record. And it's like you said, it's this is all you have. There's not Wikipedia. There's not all these pictures. There's not all these stories. So it's, I do miss that. I do miss some of the wonder of the pre-internet age.
Yeah. And so what's really a bit of a tightrope walk about any of this stuff is that here we are on a podcast talking ad nauseum about things, right? Like, so we're adding to the information. We're talking about a book that we just wrote that is also illuminating stuff, but just trying to do it in a way that doesn't like put a spotlight in every fucking corner and leaves that little bit of room for personalizing it for yourself or whatever. And I do, you know, also getting the point that like, as much as I love a band, I do want to know more about a band. You know what I mean? Like I do want, like when I see a picture that I've never seen of a band that I love, I'm like, what the fuck is this picture? Tell me who's in the background? What, you know, and like, and it's like, so there is a joy of being teased out some more information, you know, and I'm hoping that this book, for the people that care, it gives them that little bit of like, oh, you're filling in a blank for me. I had it wrong, or I had it right, or I never knew, or thank you. You know what I mean? It's like, because I love that shit. Like when I, you know, there's a couple books that I'm helping out with now, not Swiz books, but other books, other bands that, you know, I'm seeing things that I've never fucking seen. And I'm just like, oh my God. Or seeing like, you know, some of the Glennie Friedman books where you're just like seeing weird pictures of Minor Threat I've never seen, or seeing pictures of the Bad Brains and that I, you know, I saw the iconic ones, but I didn't see that one. What the fuck is that? You know?
Yeah. It is always exciting when something new pops up like that for a band like that, where you haven't seen it before. But everyone, the Swiz book is out there through Akashic Books. You can still get it. The discography is sold out. Will there be any more discography, or is that it? Is it done?
We're not going to do another box set. That thing was a beast. But when the box set is delivered to the people that pre-ordered it, Swiz will now finally be back on digital platforms in a way that we haven't been for 10 years. So like, you know, Spotify, Apple, blah, 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 Bandcamp, like whatever, everywhere that we haven't been, we will now be, you know, the remaster will be available, re-released. And so that's actually probably the best exposure that, a best way for anybody to get to it, the most people could get to it, because there is a limited amount of people that are going to buy a vinyl record or still have a record player, so we're excited about that. The book comes out in October. Pre-orders are still happening now, and and by the fall everything will be out, and
Awesome. And there's a couple more Swiz gigs coming up. When are those happening, and have we talked about any more beyond that?
We are trying to figure out if we want to play shows, a show at least around the book release itself. So we're trying to figure that out now, and our hope is to play 1 to 3 more shows, just in support of the book, in support of in celebration of the book, and for the fuck of it, because we want to, because we enjoyed playing those 2 shows that we played, and a lot of, and knowing that there was people that couldn't get to that, if you only play in one city, there's people that live on the West Coast that don't want to spend another $600 to fucking fly across to see a band. So we're trying to figure out where we could go and play, how we could do it, but we want to do it. So TBD. Yeah.
All right. Any talk of revisiting any other old projects? Bluetip? Retisonic, maybe?
Well, yeah, for sure. No, I think that Bluetip has more than an album's worth of music already written, and same thing with Retisonic. There's the music is there. We've written, we've practiced, we've played over the years. I mean, over the decade, but since we broke up. I think we recorded some stuff in 2008 for Bluetip and Retisonic, and have written new stuff since then. It's just a matter of finding the time in life to do anything with it, and then what do you do with it? Like to actually record it. So, I do hope to finish those projects up at some point.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more. I hope I get to catch one of these Swiz shows, because that would be excellent. But Jason, I just want to say thanks so much for coming on the show. I've been listening to you for a very long time, and I've wanted to get you on the show for a long time. So I'm glad you're here, and thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And there you have it, Jason Farrell. Excellent conversation. Glad I was finally able to get Jason on the show. I've wanted to talk to him for a while, because I've been listening to him for a while. In listening to a lot of Ink and Dagger back in the day, I would hear comparisons to Swiz. So that's how Swiz first got on my radar. I've always dug them. I'm glad that they're back, and I hope I get a chance to see one of their live shows, because I really want to. And Bluetip I've been a fan of since the year 2000, I think. I highly recommend the album Polymer. That's my favorite. That's the first one I heard. So definitely check them out if you haven't. Retisonic, Red Hair, the guy can't miss. He makes a lot of good music. And I like his outlook on things, They did what they did, it was what it was, and they're good memories to look back on. Pretty interesting hearing about those At the Drive-In tours, too. I was supposed to go to a Bluetip At the Drive-In show. I don't remember what happened. I don't know if the show got canceled or if I was supposed to go and I couldn't go, but God, I wish I would have been able to go, because, At the Drive-In at that time is one band I really wish I would have seen, but it didn't happen. Anyway, great conversation, and thank you so much, Jason, for coming on the show. So let's check in. How are we doing? I am doing well. I hope everybody out there is doing good. The show is doing great. I think I'm booked for the entire rest of the year now. Ton of great guests coming up, some return guests, a lot of new ones. So the show is going great. The band is doing great. We've gotten the opportunity to play some good shows. One coming up this Friday. So if you're in New York City or in the area, come see us open up for the legendary Portraits of Past at LPR in New York City. That's a great venue. I've been there before. Catherine Moore is opening up the show as well, and she's awesome. So I'm looking forward to that. We are getting ready for that. And other than that, I don't know. There was last weekend, I had nothing to do the entire weekend. I mean, nothing. I could sit inside the whole weekend, and I really liked that. So I just played a lot of games because I haven't been able to do that in a long time. And now I'm chasing the high of being able to sit around for an entire weekend and do nothing again. But it's not sustainable. It's not. I've done it. I've done it for multiple years in a row, and it only leads to unhappiness. So while things are busy, it's the way I want them to be, and it's the way they need to be ultimately. So let's check in with the New Scene Community Hour. I've got a new email here and a couple YouTube comments. I've got a new email here from Brad Mason, who was talking about the Memory Entry EP. He said the EP is amazing. Not only is the presentation absolutely gorgeous, one of the nicest in my collection, but the music itself brings me hope and inspiration. It's reassuring to know that I can be farther away from music than I'd like to, but that I can still get back into it and do something great. Thank you for that, Brad. Yeah, it's never too late. I mean, before this band, I thought I was done. I thought I'd never play any music in any band again. And the fact that I'm doing it now again brings me a lot of joy every day. Brad has also joined the exclusive club of listeners who have listened to every episode of the New Scene, dating all the way back to the Northeast Scene podcast when we used to be called that. So, Brad, thank you for all the support. And I've got a new YouTube comment from David Dante Phoenix, who said this about episode 270 with Don DeVore from Ink and Dagger and Frail. David says, as a lifelong Ink and Dagger fan, this interview is a godsend. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Yes, one of my absolute favorite bands, so that was a dream interview for me. And Ambisextra says this about episode 288 with Harper Boyd Terry of Great Death. I stan Harper so much. Incredible interview. Best album of the year. Absolutely, Die in Love is one of the best new records of the year. And thank you for that comment. Oh, and here's a good one from episode 266 with Einar Selvik of Wardruna. Dean Edwards said, I'm loving this interview. I've listened to quite a few interviews of Einar, and I feel you got somewhere most haven't. It's quite personal and insightful. Thanks for doing this pod. Thank you, Dean Edwards. That was very nice, and I'm glad you enjoyed that interview with Einar. I certainly did. He is one of the most interesting people I've ever spoken to, and that was a great episode. So that's it for this week. I'm back next week with 2 new guests, 1 return and 1 new. It's a great episode, so I'll see you then.